So should we talk cognacs and brandies?
Yes.
This has been, I love it when the group asks questions because it gives us the chance to do some research and to dive in to these different things. Really quick, before I jump ahead, let's make sure that there were no questions we left unanswered. It looks like, by the way, thanks to all of you that are answering questions and posting links and helping our group members. It's just wonderful.
You always help each other.
You
That's
do.
just what our group is about.
There were some questions about vodka proof. Can it be 70? It needs to be 70 proof's good. 35% alcohol is a minimum. It looks like all these questions are getting answered.
And you can do dehydrated blueberries as well.
Yeah, very good. So let's jump in. Cognacs and brandy. So not only are we sort of expanding our extract style by leaving vanilla beans and adding now fruits, and who knows what we'll be extracting a year from now. We just did blueberries, right? We didn't think we'd be doing that a year ago. So we're experimenting with different things that we can mix with our vanilla beans to make great extract. We're also always experimenting with different spirits. And brandy and cognac have been two spirits that we've talked about. We've never made extract with it. We're excited. We're going to make our very first extract today with the brandy and cognac. But people have asked, what's the difference? And, we're learning with you. And so I always say when we're giving kind of advice and feedback, we're maybe 3 weeks ahead and some Google searching and researching. And we typically will go out and do some taste tests and nose tests and figure things out to find what works best. And then we share what we learn with the group, and we all kind of get smarter with extracting together. So, brandies and cognacs. Do you remember when we did the difference between bourbon and whiskey? And there's the old saying that all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon, because bourbon is a whiskey that has its own defining characteristics. Well, the exact same is true with brandy and cognac. All cognac is brandy, but not all brandy is cognac. Mm-hmm. So let's start very high level. What are the differences? Brandy taste. This is what we have sort of experienced and discovered. Brandy is it's going to be much sweeter than whiskey. So if you're comparing it with a bourbon or a whiskey, it's going to be much sweeter than a whiskey. It still is a little smoky, unlike some rums. So it's a different kind of sweet. Mm-hmm. Its sweetness in brandy is very flowery.
Fruity.
Mm-hmm. Like both fresh fruit and dried fruit. Uh-huh. Sometimes you can tease out like apricots and things like that, like a fresh fruit, but then often
pears and apples.
Right, dried. And so you get all of that in brandy. It is great. Brandy is great for floral vanilla beans like our Karima beans, the Tahitensis beans from Papua New Guinea. Our Tahiti beans, they're great for that. The Ecuadorian beans, the Hawaiian beans.
Ecuadorians with that apricot tone.
Oh man, those would all be great pairings with a fruity brandy. Now cognac, let's talk about cognac. It's very similar to brandy, but they call it exclusive flavors that are sweet, spicy, and fruity, and sometimes even a little bitter. So with a cognac, fruity beans like the ones we've described might be great, but a Sri Lankan bean could be amazing with a cognac. A Mexican bean with that spicy vanilla kick could be really good. All of those would be good mixtures with the cognac. So then what's the difference between the brandy and the cognac? Well, here's the difference. This is what makes cognac, and it sets itself apart from brandy. And this was so fascinating. So first off, cognac must come from a distilled white wine. The grapes come from white wine. They have to come from one of 6 different regions in the southwestern part of France called the Cognac region. So if you're buying cognac, you're getting grapes that are only grown in this little tiny region of France. And a lot of you will know this already, a lot of you may not. The 2 most popular grapes, are you ready? I've been practicing my French. The Ugni Blanc grapes, that's French for Ugni Blanc. And then the Grand Champagne grapes are the 2 most coveted grapes of cognac. So cognac, kind of like bourbon, where bourbon's required to be 51% corn, cognac's required to have grapes from a certain region to make sure that it sort of is defined. So you always get the same thing with cognac. There's different regions within the cognac region where grapes are grown, but it kind of defines what cognac is, and there's different versions of.
Well, it's very consistent. You know what you're getting.
Yes. So cognac must be diluted twice. It must use copper pot stills for distilling, which has a big impact on its taste. It must be distilled in French oak barrels for a minimum of 2 years. So it has to sit in French oak barrels for a minimum of 2 years. That's a big deal. Brandies can use American oak barrels, which typically come from bourbon manufacturers. So brandies will often have a hint of bourbon from the wood, right? This is very interesting. At Hennessy, which is one of the upscale, nice cognacs that you get here in the States, they have a committee of 7 people that do tastings every day. They do 40 tastings, 40 tastings a day, and they're only allowed to do the tastings from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I'm sorry, this was so fascinating to me.
It sounds funny.
My inner geek is totally coming out right now, but they're only allowed to do tastings from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. They'll taste 40 different samples. It takes 10 years to be trained to become a professional taster at Hennessy to approve it, okay? So now it's all done, the cognac's done, comes from that region. Brandy can come from America, it can come from anywhere in the world, it can use any kind of fruit, it can use grapes, it can be anywhere.
It's like the wild, wild
It
west.
is wild, wild west of sweet spirit making. So brandy, wild, wild west.
Well, we need to try to make our own brandy.
We should, we could. Utah brandy. Cognac is like the buttoned up. You come from France, buttoned up. Okay?
Hoity-toity.
But a very good and a very distinct taste, right? So here's the thing. You look on the bottle, you're going to see different things. So after the taste test of the 7 judges, it is labeled V.S, which stands for very special, which means that it's ready to go to market and it can be sold. So we have a Hennessy very special 2-year-old cognac right here that is been approved by the 7 testers. It waited for 2 years and it's ready to go. Then you can have another level of of cognac, where it is defined as very special old pale, which is VSOP. And that means the youngest brandy or cognac in the blend is 4 years old. And then you have the XO, which is extra old, which means the youngest brandy or cognac in the finished blend is a minimum of 6 years old. Okay? It's kind of like the tequilas. You have like the silver, and then you've got the reposado, and then you've got the añejo. They do the same thing with brandy. You've got the 2-year-old, very special. You have the 4-year-old, very special old pale, and then you have the 6-year-old, extra old with the XO. So here we go. What does it all mean now? I'm going to sum it all up in terms of how to choose. So we would think that the XO is going to be the finest cognac or the finest brandy that's out there. So we went and looked for some XOs. If you want to get an XO cognac in America, at least in Utah, the ones that were available at the liquor store this week were like $250 for a 750 milliliter bottle, that would be a very expensive vanilla extract. And for those of you that love cognac, you may want to give it a try.
Sure, if you like to drink cognac, then you can drink it and put it in your vanilla. If
you want to go into brandy, well, you can get this big bottle here from an American brandy manufacturer called E&J XO. So it's an extra old, 6 years, goes through the same taste testing protocols as cognac does. This was $29 in Utah this week because it comes from the States.
That's a pretty good deal.
Right, that's a really good deal. So then you're wondering which one is better and which one's best for you. So here's where we start. We said for our vanilla extract, we want to use like a really nice cognac. And then we got there and we're like, no, I don't want to spend $250 on a vanilla. That didn't make a lot of sense. We didn't think we'd use it ever. And so we bought a couple of very special old pale cognacs at a reasonable price.
Yes.
And then we bought a couple of brandies at a very reasonable price. We brought them home and we said, let's do a taste test and a smell test.
Yes.
And here's what happened. First, we'll replay it here. So we've got the Hennessy very special old pale. So it's a 4-year-old cognac. It's beautiful. We smelled it. When you smell it, it's a beautiful smell. It's definitely grape, so it kind of smells like a wine. Like it's kind of like spirits that are in like a sherry cask. Mm-hmm. So you can tease out a lot of those floral sweet notes.
I already smell vanilla in there.
There's a little bit of vanilla, kind of a hint of vanilla, and so we thought this is it. This is what we're going to make the extract with. Then we opened this one up, which is also a VSOP. So it's a 4-year-old brandy, an American brand, a lot less expensive than the Hennessy. And this is what we did. We opened it and oh my heavens. So there is so much going on inside of that brandy. There's apple, there's vanilla cream, there's caramel, there's grapes. There's so much happening within this brandy.
Yes.
We got really excited and we changed our minds.
Yep.
We're now going to make this extract out of a brandy, an American brandy. instead of a cognac.
Yeah.
Now, we'll probably still make a cognac just so we can compare the two a year from now. But for this group, we just want to let you know, price doesn't mean anything when you're looking at spirits. Everyone's like, do I have to spend the most? You don't. You really don't. Like in our case, we did a little bit of research and we found these American brandies really smell good, and we're so excited about the extract that's going to come out.
Yeah, there's so much going on in here. I can't wait to see the end product.
Yes.
Like, wow.
So it's fruity again, and so we're going to stick with the fruitier beans. So we thought, do we use like a Karima? Do we use a Ecuadorian, a Tahiti, a Sri Lanka? What do we want to get? And we decided that the Karima bean would be the best. And then since this is a first extract for us in a totally different spirit, we wanted to commemorate this, and we want to put our extract in this bottle. And there are a few of you that are watching right now, you know who you are. At Christmas time this year, we received this package from some of you wonderful, amazing group members who we just love. Thank you. You know who you are. They sent us this beautiful decanter. It's gorgeous. It's a 24-ounce decanter. On it, you probably can't see it, but it's our Vanilla Pura logo. Jill and Paul, established in 2016 with this embossed vanilla bean and flower on it. It is absolutely gorgeous. And
what a personal gift.
Seriously,
really?
We just love you guys. So that just kind of made our holidays great. We were so happy to get that. So we wanted to use this decanter to make our first ever extract using a brandy. So what beans did we select?
The Karima.
We're using the Karima beans because they're very fruity, and we thought it would blend well.
But this would be good with Ecuadorian as well.
Oh, it would be good with Ecuadorian, Tahiti, Sri Lanka, some of the Hawaiian, Tongan. Those would all be great. I'll give you an update on Tonga too here in a minute. So what did we do? Did we cut them or leave them?
I cut some of them because again, I like to see the pretty little speckles in my vanilla. It helps it go a little quicker. But I also, the bottle was so pretty, I wanted to kind of keep the beans whole just so I could see how pretty they are, because how pretty is that in my jar that I just love.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful, and so I just wanted to be able to keep the whole beans.
And it's a 24-ounce jar, so we just do the math. You need 1 ounce of beans for you new people, 1 ounce of beans for every 8 ounces of spirits. So where this is 24 ounces, we used 3 ounces of beans. Now, the beans will obviously displace the spirit, so we're going to end up using less than 24 ounces. We still use 3 ounces of beans because it just gets a little closer to double fold, and it's additional sweetness.
Fold, but it's a little bit more on the vanilla side, which is never bad.
Never bad. So, by the way, the XO, the extra old brandy, we like that as well. But again, we like the very special Old Pale, which is 1 tier down. We thought there was more going on in this than there was even in the XO. For those of you asking, this brand, it's called E, the letter E, and the letter J, E and J. And it's an American brandy. It's wonderful. So we're just going to go ahead and pour it in here.
Okay.
Whoops.
Somebody asked, does it matter the color of the jars? I think when we were doing our blueberry, it doesn't. You can do, some people use the darker jars if they want to keep them out in the open more, but we always just use regular glass bottles and we put them in a dark place.
It's coming out there.
I'm making you mess. Fingers.
Yeah. I see someone, I'm trying to watch these comments and I'm pouring brandy all over Jill's fingers here because I'm looking at comments and I'm trying to pour, which you should never do. Extract making is a very dangerous hobby if you're not careful. You might get brandy. I know, all over your fingers. But I see there's a discussion happening about scotch. It's like, oh man, are we going to go down another rabbit hole?
Oh no, don't get into scotch.
So,
that's another day.
That's another day. Great questions. Here's the thing with spirits, though, and here's kind of our end piece of advice. So there's a couple things. So I told you the name of the brandy that we found that's really good and affordable. Let's close that.
How beautiful is that?
How beautiful is that?
I mean, look at those
Can you
vanilla.
do a close-up?
Like I do.
Let's do a close-up so everyone can see it. This is such a beautiful gift. Thank you for those of you that got together to send this to us. That is just so pretty.
It is gorgeous.
And when you put the brandy in there and the color with the beans,
I don't want to put it in a dark place.
It is absolutely beautiful.
I'm going to put it out on our desk so we see it.
Yes, and that's beautiful. So we'll end on this as it relates to spirits, and we've only got 6 minutes left, and we're going to finish on time as we always do. With spirit tasting, for those of you that drink alcohol, We've got a lot of you that you're very familiar with all of these things. For many of you, this review of Brandy and Cognac, you know, you've been there and you've done that. If there's a spirit that you enjoy and that you believe in your tastings would be great with vanilla, use that spirit. So if you have a scotch that's sweet, as someone was saying, we've never done it with scotch, but if you have a scotch that's sweet and you want to try it, if you like the spirit, odds are you're going to really like the extract. That's just the rule of thumb. So, you know, you can get together with friends like, you know, we'll do sometimes, and if someone's really interested in a cognac and someone's really interested in a brandy, then you can both go get them. Come together and have like a little tasting and see which one you like more and try things out and go with a spirit that you like. Any spirit that you like and that you've already tasted and you enjoy is going to be great with your vanilla extract. Go with it. For those of you that don't drink, there's many people in our group that don't drink alcohol and they don't know how to choose. There is so much research available online. We've tried to gather as much as we can. We've put it on vanillapura.com. There's more research, obviously, outside of Vanilla Pura. We're not fully comprehensive, but we've got a lot.
We do, and we actually have a chart that kind of puts them in different areas.
Our beans, yeah.
The beans and a whole section on different spirits. So if you're wondering, if you don't drink alcohol, you don't know much about it, go to our website. There's a lot of information there.
There's a lot. And so research it and you'll see. And so you'll read things online about brandies being sweet and apple and caramel. And this particular brandy that we use, in its description, it actually says that, this is what it says from the back. It has warm, inviting flavors of vanilla cream, maple, and old sherry. So even if you don't drink, you read the labels. When you open the bottle, just smell it. And if you like what's happening, if you like what's happening in the spirit, you're going to like it in the brandy. So just do some research online. You can see the safest extract to begin with, again, is always vodka, which is largely tasteless, and a Madagascar bean, which is traditional. But then this is what happens as you get down into the rabbit hole. We just finished an hour-long show, and we're doing vanilla and blueberries and mocha and brandies and cognacs. And someone asked about tequila. We did a tequila in our last show. If you go to our YouTube channel, you'll see the tequila review and the different kinds of tequila. Like, we are so down the rabbit hole.
It's so fun.
And it's so fun because we get to do it with all of you. So, so we hope that this was helpful. So can you use brandy and can you use cognac? The answer is yes, you can. How good are they? Well, this is our first. Come back in a year because we're going to crack that open and we're going to do our taste test and we're going to see how good it is.
Or you could try sous vide.
Yep, and both brandies and cognacs, in this case, they were both 40% alcohol, so they were right within the right alcohol range. That's an important thing. Just make sure that the percent alcohol is at least 35% or greater, typically not greater than 50-55%. Then you start hurting the beans. So make sure your alcohol content in the spirit that you choose is okay. Other than that, if you like the smell, if you like the taste, if you like what you've researched online, try it. Go for it. Share it with us. We'll get it up on the site. We'll share it with the group. We will all be smarter because you tried something new and you shared it.
Yep.
Wow. Whew. How was that? Was that good? I hope we were helpful today. Was that a good show? Did we get everybody, did we fill your cup?
We filled a lot of things.
We filled a whole lot of things. And so we hope that these live events are substantive and that you learn some things and they're fun as well. We always